Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, if you're a man over 40 trying to figure out fitness online, wow, it's a minefield.
Oh, absolutely. You've got guys screaming, lift heavy or go home, others pushing like super high reps. It's confusing.
It really is. And that confusion, honestly, is why so many people just kind of spin their wheels, not getting the results they want.
Exactly. So our mission today, it's pretty straightforward.
Hmm.
We're cutting through all that noise. We've dug into the science, looked at the practical side of things.
And we're aiming to find that sweet spot, right? The most practical, sustainable, and scientifically backed rep range for building muscle hypertrophy, specifically for us, for guys dealing with the realities of being over 40.
That's the plan. Maximum results, minimum wasted effort, or, unnecessary risk.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We need to start with the absolute bedrock principle, the thing that actually makes muscles grow. Forget the numbers on the plates for a second.
Yeah, forget reps. Wait just for a moment. Your muscles, fundamentally, they don't count. They respond to one thing, mechanical tension.
Meaning they have to be stressed enough, pushed close enough to their limit to failure so your body actually recruits the muscle fibers needed for growth.
Precisely. And that's key because technically, almost any rep range can trigger that growth signal if you push it hard enough. Heavy sets of 5, lighter sets of 25, they can both work.
Ah, but there's the catch.
There's always a catch, isn't there? Especially after 40. While it's true they can all work, they're absolutely not equally practical or, maybe more importantly, efficient for you, the learner.
Because things change. Recovery isn't what it used to be. Joints start talking back.
Exactly. Your energy, your time, your ability to bounce back, these become really precious resources. So we need the approach that gives the best stimulus without creating excessive fatigue or beating up your joints unnecessarily. We need sustainability.
Okay, let's dive into the extremes then, starting with one that sounds like it might be good for endurance, but maybe not ideal for us. High rep training. We're talking like 20, maybe 30 reps per set.
Right. The theory there is actually pretty sound on paper. You do enough reps to completely fatigue the smaller, more endurance-oriented, slow-twitch fibers.
And eventually your body has to call in the big guns, right? The larger, fast-twitch fibers that have more growth potential. You force them into the game.
That's the idea. You expose those growth-prone fibers to tension. But the practical downsides, particularly for an older lifter, they're significant, huge even.
Okay, lay it on me. What's the biggest problem?
The first killer is the sheer metabolic stress and what it does to your recovery. Those high-rep sets create an intense internal environment in the muscle.
You mean that searing burn? Everyone knows that feeling.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's caused by a rapid buildup and interaction of things like hydrogen ions, inorganic phosphate, stuff that accumulates when you work that long. And that burn, well, it's not necessarily productive.
Wait, so the feeling most people chase thinking this must be working, it's actually bad?
It interferes with the muscle's ability to contract properly. It literally reduces the amount of force you can produce, especially in those crucial last few reps of the set. The quality degrades.
Huh. So the set feels harder, but might be less effective at the muscular level.
Precisely. And it gets worse. That deep metabolic fatigue, that buildup of byproducts, it doesn't just vanish when the set ends. It dramatically slows down your recovery between workouts. Your body has so much more cleanup and repair to do.
Okay, that makes sense. More internal mess equals longer recovery. What else?
Then there's the cardiovascular tax. Think about a 20-rep set of squats.
Oh, yeah. Forget lifting. You feel like you just ran a sprint. Heart's pounding, gasping for air.
Exactly. You're essentially layering a heavy cardio workout on top of your resistance training.
Yeah.
That adds a massive layer of systemic fatigue. It taxes your whole body, not just the muscles worked, making it even harder to recover and train again soon.
So it's inefficient from a recovery standpoint.
Highly inefficient. And then there's the simple fact of adherence, let's be honest.
Nobody likes doing sets of 25 reps till they feel sick.
Right. The research backs this up. People consistently rate high-rep, light-load training as highly unpleasant. The discomfort, the cardio demand, the sheer mental grind, that RPE, the rate of perceived exertion, is through the roof.
And that probably affects how hard people actually push, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. This is maybe the biggest practical failure. Most people doing high reps, they stop way short of true muscular failure. They hit their pain threshold or their I'm going to puke threshold.
So they endure the misery, but the fast-twitch fibers might not even get fully stimulated because they bailed too early.
You got it. The set feels absolutely brutal, but from a pure muscle growth stimulus perspective, it might have been less effective than they think. Lots of pain, potentially less gain than other methods.
Okay, so high reps. Sounds like a lot of suffering for potentially suboptimal results, especially with recovery being a bottleneck for us.
Let's swing the pendulum completely. What about low reps? Super heavy powerlifting style, 1 to 5 reps. All right, the other end of the spectrum. Now, the big pro here is obvious and undeniable. Heavy, heavy
They
loads.
feel productive, you feel strong.
And they are. Heavyweights immediately recruit the largest motor units, those high-threshold, fast-twitch fibers we want for growth and strength. It's fantastic for building raw strength and power output, no question.
There's always a but.
The but for hypertrophy, for building actual muscle size, is volume. Building muscle requires accumulating enough total quality work, enough stimulating reps over your workout.
And doing sets of, say, 3 reps, it takes a lot of sets to add up to significant volume.
An enormous number. Think about it. To get, say, 30 total reps on an exercise, you'd need 10 sets of 3. Compare that to maybe 3 or 4 sets of 8 or 10.
That sounds exhausting just thinking about it, the rest periods alone.
Exactly. Before you even get close to enough hypertrophy-inducing volume, your nervous system is likely fried, your joints are probably screaming, or just general fatigue sets in and your technique goes out the window. It's just not efficient for accumulating volume.
And this ties into something specific for older guys, right? You mentioned it earlier.
Yes, this is critical. Anabolic resistance. It's a well-documented phenomenon. As we age, our muscles become somewhat less responsive to the stimulus of training and even protein intake.
Meaning we need more stimulus to get the same growth response a younger person might get.
That's what the research suggests. Older men often benefit from more total work, more volume, to really maximize that muscle-building signal. Younger guys might see similar growth from lower or higher volumes, but for us, hitting adequate volume seems more crucial.
So trying to get that necessary higher volume using low reps of 1 to 5, it's practically impossible.
It becomes incredibly impractical, yeah. You'd need marathon workouts, you'd massively increase your risk of burnout, overuse injuries. It just doesn't line up with the goal of sustainable hypertrophy.
Okay, volume is one issue. What else is tricky with super heavy weights?
There's also the targeting issue. When a weight is truly maximal or near maximal for you, like in that 1 to 5 rep range, your body's prime directive changes.
Also,
It stops prioritizing perfect isolation of the target muscle and starts prioritizing just moving the damn weight. Survival mode, almost.
so other muscles jump in to help. Stabilizers, synergists.
Exactly. They compromise the form. They take tension off the muscle you're actually trying to grow just to complete the lift. The stimulus gets diluted.
That classic example of someone doing barbell curls, right? They loaded up heavy for sets of 5, but by rep 3, they're leaning back, using their whole body.
Perfect example. They're using momentum, lower back, shoulders, everything but maximally stressing the biceps through its range of motion. Less tension on the target, plus a much higher risk of hurting something else, like your back.
So low reps build strength, definitely. But for efficient, safe muscle growth over 40, probably not the main strategy.
Not as the core strategy, no. Too hard to get volume, too much systemic stress, higher injury risk when form inevitably breaks down near failure. It's inefficient for the goal.
Okay, this is good. We've kind of ruled out the extremes for efficiency and sustainability. Which brings us, well, it brings us to the middle ground. Here's where it gets really interesting, right? The classic hypertrophy zone.
Exactly. The 6 to 12 rep range. This isn't new. It's been the bodybuilding standard for decades, but there's a reason it stood the test of time, especially, I'd argue, for the over 40 lifter.
So why is this range the sweet spot? What's happening physiologically?
It hits that perfect balance. The weight is heavy enough. You're typically working above 60–65% of your 1 rep max, 1 RM, to recruit those important fast-twitch muscle fibers relatively quickly in the set.
Okay, so you get the good fibers involved without needing near maximal weights.
Right. But crucially, it's not so heavy that you induce massive neural fatigue after just a few reps, like in the 1 to 5 range. And it's not so light that you need tons of reps to get there, avoiding that huge metabolic stress and cardiovascular tax of the 20+ rep sets.
It provides high mechanical tension without the crippling systemic fatigue or the extreme joint nervous system stress. That sounds like the definition of sustainable.
It really is. And the science, especially looking at older populations, supports this beautifully. One study highlighted in our source material was really telling.
Oh, yeah. What did it find?
It looked at the muscle protein synthesis response, basically the signal telling muscles to grow at different intensities. They found that once the load got heavy enough to be around a 12 rep max, so about 60% of 1 RM, that growth signal surged way up.
Okay, so hitting that 12 rep max weight is a key threshold.
Seems to be. And interestingly, the signal stayed high even as the weights got heavier, like at 75% of 1 RM, maybe 8-10 reps, and 90%, maybe 3-4 reps.
So the entire 6 to 12 rep range sits comfortably above that threshold where the growth signal really kicks in.
Exactly. You're solidly in the grow zone without necessarily needing to push into those riskier, heavier loads all the time. And you can accumulate that vital volume needed to combat anabolic resistance much more easily and safely than with very low reps.
It just makes practical sense. Strong stimulus, manageable fatigue, better recovery potential, lower injury risk.
Mm.
For consistency, week after week, month after month, that seems unbeatable.
That's the key word, consistency. This range allows you to train hard, stimulate growth, recover, and come back to do it again without constantly battling burnout or injury. That's the path to long-term progress after 40.
Can we get even more specific within that 6-12 range, though? Does it matter if I do 6 reps versus 12?
Yes, absolutely. There's nuance here, and it often depends on the type of exercise you're doing.
Okay, like compound lifts versus isolation.
Precisely. For your big multi-joint compound lifts, think squats, deadlifts, bench presses, overhead presses, it's generally smarter to stay towards the lower end of that range. Say 6 to 8 reps, maybe 9.
Why lower for the big lifts? Is it just about lifting heavier?
It allows you to use a substantial load, which is great for overall strength and tension on multiple muscle groups. But stopping around 8 reps helps you maintain solid form and technique. Trying to grind out 12 reps on a heavy squat significantly increases the chance of form breakdown as fatigue sets in.
Which increases injury risk, especially on those complex movements. Makes sense. Keep the big lifts heavy-ish but tight.
Right. Maximize tension, minimize risky reps. But then, for your isolation exercises, things targeting smaller muscle groups, like bicep curls, tricep extensions, lateral raises, hamstring curls.
You go higher, towards the 12 rep end.
Exactly. Aim for the 8 to 12 rep range, maybe even slightly higher, like 10-14 on some machine work. Here, the goal is maximizing tension on that specific muscle and achieving a good pump, which also contributes to growth signals.
And you don't need super heavy weight for that on isolation lifts. Lighter weight, higher reps, more focus on the contraction.
You got it. It lets you really feel the muscle working, get that metabolic stress localized where you want it without needing weights that strain tendons or encourage cheating. It's a very effective and safe way to train smaller muscles.
So kind of a general rule, 6-8 for compounds, 8-12 plus for isolations, all within that effective hypertrophy zone.
That's a fantastic practical guideline for structuring your workouts.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What does this all mean for you, the listener? We've looked at the downsides of the extremes.
High reps leading to too much systemic fatigue, slow recovery, and often stopping short of true failure.
And low reps being great for strength, but inefficient for volume accumulation, tougher on the system long term, and carrying higher risks when form breaks near max weights.
And both extremes potentially being less effective at combating that age-related anabolic resistance because getting enough quality work becomes the challenge.
Which leaves us squarely in that 6 to 12 rep range as the most efficient, sustainable, and scientifically supported zone for men over 40 aiming for muscle growth. It just balances stimulus, fatigue, recovery, and safety better than anything else.
It really seems to be the cornerstone. But this raises an important final thought, maybe something for you to chew on.
Oh, go on.
While we've established 6 to 12 as the core, the sources we looked at didn't completely dismiss the other ranges. They acknowledge that, used strategically, they can have benefits.
Like occasional heavy sets of 3-5 to build raw strength that helps you lift more in the 6-12 range later.
Exactly. Or maybe some higher rep sets, like 15-20, done safely on a machine at the end of a workout for a final pump, where form breakdown isn't really a risk.
Okay, so they can be complementary tools.
They can be. But the question for you becomes, if your margin for error, your recovery capacity really does shrink after 40, how do you intelligently and sparingly integrate those extremes? How do you use them to complement your core 6-12 work without letting them take over, without exceeding your ability to recover and progress consistently? That's the art of programming for the long haul.